Hello, welcome to my channel. This is Stitching with Gina. This is my first video in a series that I think I'd like to title, Hooray, the kids are back in school. After a very long year of remote learning and some in-school learning and then a hybrid of the two, we're back to school full-time. So my 5 living grandchildren that I help raise are in school and they're happy. And you know, I'm glad I have some time for me. It's quiet time. It's just a place and time where I can just have some fun doing my stitching, and I want to share that joy with you. So what I'd like to do is start telling you a little bit about what I'm working on, the projects that I'm doing, and where I hope to go with this next few months with my stitching. So, you know, there's a question that I ask a lot of people that I stitch with. What do you do while you're stitching? So I like quiet time. Like, I'm okay being in my own head for a little while, probably because there's a lot of chaos in my life, which I love. It's good chaos. But sometimes you just want to like, whoop, dial it back, just be in your zone. And then I want to just see what's going on. Like, what are other people doing? What's happening? I need to know what I'm missing. I don't want to be left out. What are all the cool kids doing? So anyway, I like to watch YouTube. Here we are. And what I look for on YouTube is sometimes I look for things as a resource to get some knowledge about maybe a product or a technique, or just, you know, just to see what's going on. And some of the places that I visit on YouTube have included something new to me. Okay, so I'm a quilter and I love applique, and I own an applique business called Grab and Go Kits. I manufacture ready-to-stitch die-cut wool felt kits. Everything's included in the kit to do some stitching. Visit my website, take a look. I'll include that in the description below with a link. But I'm not here to talk just about that today. I'm just here to share with you. I'm going to share. Tongue-tied. We're doing very little edits, so you're just, you know, this is me, straight up. Can't help it. Okay, so back to what I was saying. I discovered this thing called floss tube. So it's on YouTube, floss tube. Floss is used in embroidery, and these ladies are using floss tube in cross stitch. There's a whole world of cross stitch people out there. I'm used to being in the world of quilters, but I do like all kinds of stitching. And so I check it out. And you know what I discovered? Let me just tell you. Cross-stitch people are cool. I'll tell you why. They have this thing where they talk about their starts. Starts. That means it's a project, cross-stitch project, that they started. Sometimes a start could be they gathered their floss or whatever they're going to use for their stitching part. They've gathered their chart. Translation, a chart is a pattern. And their needle and whatever. And so they do starts and they're proud of it. They're proud of it, as they should be. Quilters, we're like on this thing where I have so many UFOs. Oh, I gotta finish these projects. And it's like drudgery and doldrum in that whole description of the projects that you have to do. And, you know, where'd that come from? Where'd that guilt come from? I'm Italian, and let me tell you, I know guilt. I don't want guilt in my quilting. Not anymore. And I'm certainly not going to do guilt in my stitching. So, I love them. They're adorable. So they do starts, and they brag about them. They brag about them. Here's my start for today. Here's my start for tomorrow. Here's my start for Stitch Mania. I'm doing these 30 stitch charts and I'm starting one every day. It's like, what? Blows me away. They finish them, but they have no shame in starting. So I think you can kind of get my point, right? Well, last year, probably about a year ago, I was, I don't know, I somehow stumbled across, I think it was Fat Quarter Shop, probably on the newsletter, that, whatever. And they had this cross stitch. And I'm like, oh, that would look so cute in my room, my sewing room. And so I wanted to do it, and I bought the chart. And I did some cross stitching like way back in the day, like way back. And it was so messy, just forget it. So I had a sister who did cross stitch and she was very good at it. So anyway, I'm a quilter, I'm proud of it. It's good. But I want to do these cute little cross stitches. So I want to show you the cover, right? There it is. It's by Lori Holt. And it says, the name of the pattern says, "So she did." Okay, so the expression is, she believed she could, so, S-E-W, she did. So you can see why this is going to look adorbs in the sewing room. Buttons, it's just so cute. And it doesn't hurt that I like turquoise, so that's good too. So there's something in cross stitch. They don't show you the inside. The inside is the chart. Because these designers, they put a lot of work and effort into what they do. And if you had a picture of the chart, you wouldn't need the pattern, and that's sad. So, I'm following the rules because that's an important one. So anyway, I started this last year. I bought the pattern the very first day I saw it. I later found out I was one of the lucky ones, and everybody was waiting. I guess I just hit it lucky. So I march off to Michael's and I buy my Aida cloth and I get all my DMC floss for this project. And I have DMC floss, seriously, tons. But I wanted to make sure I had all the right colors that Lori suggested because I love the colors on the front. So why change them? So I got all my I got all my stuff. And I remember way back, you got started, you find the center, then you you go all, and you do all this. It's hard for me to see the little squares. I just put a ton of light on it. And I started. And I'm like, oh, I'm going along. It's really great. I get to change my color to do this other little section. Well, that's not lining up with the other section. And, oh, yeah, there it was. I counted wrong, something was wrong, and I had to rip out my cross stitch with a seam ripper, like a quilter does when she sews the wrong stuff together. And I was like, oh, okay. So I rip it out, okay. And I start over, I correct, and I go, and then, something else came along, and it went back in a bag. So fast forward, almost a year later, I'm on YouTube and I learn all about this sweet lady, Lori Holt, which I had no idea who she was when I first bought this chart. And she's fantastic, you gotta go out there and check it out. So Lori Holt works with, she has her own company called Bee in My Bonnet, like Bumblebee, B-E-E, in My Bonnet company. And she works with the lady over there at the Fat Quarter Shop, and, they got it all going on. Really cute stuff. Super creative designer. She doesn't just do cross stitch. She's quilting, everything. Crochet. Did I say that? You want to be her when you grow up kind of thing. So just so much fun and so inspirational. So I, get used to looking at Lori Holt's stuff, and she does stitch alongs. So her stitch alongs are there isn't a pattern, and you know, she has like free stuff, and then she has a video every week, and anyway, you just have to go learn for yourself. But my point is, along the way, she had a couple of stitch alongs that I really loved, the cute applique quilts that she had. And one that I saw just recently, I can't remember the name. It doesn't matter. So what Lori does is she does these really pretty applique things. Oh, flea market something. Oh, I'm so bad. I'll put it in the description. But so she does these quilts, and then she does a cross stitch to match. Boom. I love it. So I want to do the quilt. I ordered the templates. It's applique, and it's her style of applique. I call it faced applique. It's when you use interfacing, you stitch, you reverse it out, and it turns the edges for you automatically. I'm used to doing like needle turn. That's kind of a real, you know, time consuming, and you have to have the skill. And hers is skill based, but it's just a little more forgiving. And there's also, she does it on a sewing machine. So she doesn't hand applique. So it looks like needle turn. It has that dimension, but it's done by machine. Hope I filled in the blanks on that. And so I bought that chart. Of course, I got the templates. You know, there's a video every week to make the quilt. And then I got the chart. And I said, I'm going to step it up. Okay, so Aida cloth is one kind of texture fabric. It's a little more stiff. It's what I traditionally think of cross stitch, like a little waffly kind of thing. And so Lori will stitch on Aida cloth, but she also has this other fabric that she stitches on, and she calls it Lugana. I don't really know what that means. All I know is it's a prettier hand, almost like a linen, but not really a linen. A cotton of some kind with a weave that's a very distinct weave that you can use to do cross stitch. So, of course, you know, it costs a little bit more. So what, you know? So I got the chart. I got the Lugana. And then I got the DMC floss pack because Lori picked out all the colors. And I like the colors, so why fight the system? And so I got everything I needed. And I remembered how I messed up so badly and on my first attempt at Sew She Did. And I decided I should get help. I should not get help for, I mean, like, I need help. I need to learn. I need instruction. So I contacted one of my people, one of my stitching friends that comes to my sewcations. Okay, so a sewcation, just to tell you real quick, is a sewing vacation. So we all go to the hotel. I got ballrooms. It's all set up for sewing, and you just show up and you just sew. I don't teach you anything. Everybody's there if you, I mean, I'm there if you need to learn something, but the thing is, it's like a retreat without the frills. There's no food. There's nothing. There's not even a hotel room. You just come to the ballroom to sew. You can go home every day. You can get a local hotel, or you can stay at the hotel that we're at. So anyway, all this just to say, I see her very often every time I have a sewcation. I love when my friends get to come and visit me up here in Massachusetts. And this lady travels in from New Jersey, which was challenging during the pandemic. You know, there was a lot of months we couldn't get together. So anyway, I say to her, can you please help me learn how to cross stitch? And she said, yes, of course. So when I see her in June, she's going to help me get started on the Lugana. I'm going to be a big girl about it. I'm going to pay attention. I'm going to do a good job. It's going to be great. Very excited about that. But in the meantime, I don't want to be too new. I don't want to be too needy of a student. So I started over. I got rid of the Aida cloth. I put it aside. I could use it some other time. There's a whole bunch of space around it. I'm not worried about it. So I started over, and now I'm watching a little bit more, and these ladies, they start at the top row. And well, that makes sense. You know, like you don't have to start in the middle and go out from there. I'm like, light bulb. So anyway, I started yesterday, I think. I started over, and this is what I have so far. It's probably backwards, but you know, you could get what I'm saying here. So I'm going to do the whole row of the first phrase, which is she believed she could, and then the spool of thread in the top of the sewing machine, and I'm just going to work my way down, and I'm going to see how much I can get done when I meet up with my friend in June. And I can say, look what I did, and she'll be so proud of me. And then she's going to have to teach me how to stitch on the Lugana, which is going to have a whole different approach, but it's going to be good. So while I sew on my sewing machine, I really like to watch YouTube videos. I don't listen to books on tape or Audible or, you know, I don't listen to podcasts. I used to, whatever. So, but I really like watching YouTube, and I like watching people sew or talk about sewing or stitching of some kind. And so that's how I kind of got myself in trouble with this cross stitching, but it's good trouble. So I want to tell you a little bit more about these cross stitch ladies, because I'm going to tell you, it's like a whole world out there. You know, I know quilters. I know how we think. I know how we are. I know what we do, our quirks, our stuff. I know our stuff. And getting to meet and learn about people who have the passion for cross stitch is just like expanding my joy for stitching. I love it. So let me just say, I have project buckets, right? We have like plastic. I mean, our projects are bigger, right? Like, so we need a bucket, you know, you need something a little bigger. And we're always questing for the right bucket and the right container. You know how it is. But the ladies in cross stitch, they do bags, you see, like they have project bags. And let me tell you what, some of them are so cute. Some of them even match the project in the bag. Adorable. So anyway, I got my little plastic bags from, you know, Amazon or whatever. But you know, it's okay. And so in my bag for my So She Did, I've got my floss. And I don't have a needle minder, right? A needle minder is like a magnet for your thing here, so I just put a magnet there for now. And so I got this other little thing to organize my floss. Now, let me tell you how genius this little tool is, and I'll tell you all about it. So I told you that I have a company that does wool felt applique. And they are ready to stitch kits, and I include DMC floss. So I stitch a lot of the samples multiple times to make sure I have the nicest sample, and you know, to write the instructions, to write the kit contents, you know, making sure I include enough floss. You don't want to do too much floss, because then people think they made a mistake. It's a whole thing. So anyway, I'm just going to show you a little something, okay? As a quilter, we have things called scrap buckets. Sometimes scrap buckets are like buckets. And sometimes they're like, no, I throw away my scraps. I don't even use scraps. Anyway, the whole scrap thing, I'm telling you about that just to say, there are scraps when you do embroidery or you know, you use DMC floss or some other floss. There are scraps. They look like this. Okay? It's really not pretty. I mean, it's pretty in the bag because it's all colorful, but so what happens? Okay, so I'm stitching along, and you know, DMC floss is 6 strands all together, 6 ply all together in one long strand, and then you separate as many as you need. In some cross stitch, it's only two strands. In a lot of my kits, it's mostly 3 strands, sometimes 2 strands. But the point is, you have leftovers. You have pieces you didn't use up yet. So anyway, they collect on where I'm stitching, and then I have to clean up, and then I put them in a bag. You know where this is going. You get it, right? Okay, so yeah, done. I'm innocently browsing that quarter shop. Innocently. Just, you know, what do you got? What are you looking for? And, you know, I want to get up to free shipping. Okay, you know, why pay shipping? They want me to buy more stuff. I will gladly oblige, and they will compensate me with free shipping. Anyway, I'm looking at all the cross-stitch stuff because it's new. I have a friend who says, if they sell it, I must need it. And she's a smart lady. I'm just telling you that. So I have to look around and see, is there something else I need? Because, okay. So I find this thing called Floss Away. Okay, so this is Floss Away. It's like a little Ziploc bag, a lot like my Ziploc bag, but a little bit more organized. It has a little place you can write the color name and the number, what brand it is, DMC, whatever you're using. And it has a little hole punched hole at the top, and you get one of these little rings. Oh my goodness, look at that. And so guess what? When you have that little piece of floss left, now I'm getting better at putting any strand that's just too small to use again in the little scrap thing. I'm throwing it away. I'm getting better at keeping a clean surface when I'm working. So, but look, I put the rest of the red strand. You got to get one of these. Seriously. Floss Away. There's like 100 plastic bags in this one package. You can get a smaller amount, but 100 is easy to do. It's easy to use those up. Look how pretty the colors look. So pretty. Anyway, so that, good stuff. And so now I put my floss in my project bag and my, right? And I roll up my Aida cloth. And I put it in my project bag. And I put my chart in my project bag. And boom, good. Ready to go. So while I'm out there watching YouTube and I'm recently retired. Okay, so when you're retired, you're like, oh, wait a minute. I can slow down. I can do some stuff that I wanted to get to do. At first, I tackled the house. Like, seriously. There was stuff that just really needed my attention. And let me just tell you a little bit. I live with my 5 grandchildren in a very small house with their dad and, of course, my husband. So my son and my husband and my grandchildren. And when I retired, my son said, he's a retired military, said, you know, Mom, this would be a great time for me to go back to school, blah, blah, blah. And you can see where this is going. So I'm the full-time caregiver / whatever. I'm the grandma. And so I take care of these 5 grandkids. It was rough. It was a rough start. It was very rough. I have a friend who says I'm doing God's work. Like, God has a sense of humor, doesn't he? Anyway, you get used to your new lifestyle. And let me tell you, I love it. I mean, it's a privilege. It's a privilege to see children grow up through grandma eyes instead of mommy eyes. It's just different, and it brings me a lot of joy. But a little tiny bit of time for me. But I'm pretty selfish, so, you know, I find time. I have a sewing room. I mean, we have the smallest, tiniest house, but I still have an 18 by 12 foot studio with a giant long arm in it, a sewing place, plus I have another space for all my wool supplies to manufacture my kits, and another closet for storage. I mean, don't feel sorry for me. I got more than most. So, on my new retirement journey, I've been looking at a lot of things that are out there, and I love to look at different websites and see how other people are running their businesses, but also what do I like as a stitcher? And so it started. All right, for the first time, I've been stitching, well, you stitch like when you're a kid, you know. Sewed my clothes, you know, fun school clothes in the 70s. It was easy because, you know, halter tops, how easy is that, right? costumes, Halloween costumes for the kids. I was always doing something, you know. And my mom was very, very good at sewing out of necessity. And so I turned sewing into joy. So, you know, I'm kind of lucky in that way. But I found my first, drum roll, block of the month. I signed up for block of the month. Why, you ask? Why not? So it was advertised, one of those advertisements that come through on Facebook. And it was Red Barn Quilt Shop, I believe it is, in Texas. I'll put a link. And I just love those Texas ladies. I worked in the industry. I did quilting trade shows. I worked with shops for a long time. Texas people are cool. There's a lot of cool people, let me just say. There's so many wonderful people out there. I was privileged to get to meet so many of them. And so anyway, this company is in Texas. And I saw, you know, the picture of the block of the month. I'm like, oh, I have to do that. First of all, it's applique. So I love applique. I always have. Started out way back. I'm pretty good at needle turn applique. I had very good instructors at the time. Really great ladies sharing what they love, helping me. I mean, fun stuff. So I love applique. As I told you, my business, Grab and Go Kits, is applique. It's wool felt applique. And I'm recently getting into 100% hand-dyed wool. So my kits are wool felt, and felted wool is a whole different thing. They're two different things. I'll talk about it some other time. But the fact is, I want to get familiar with it, and I want to work with it more because I am expanding into die-cut 100% felted wool kits. So I want to work with it. All that just to say, I signed up for a block of the month by this lady. She's the designer. Her company is called, are you ready? Hatched and Patched. It's adorable. And she is in Australia. So you can look for her website, Hatched, A-N-D, Patched. I'll put a link. And so we're doing dancing chickens and flying pigs. Okay, here's a little tiny picture of it. See how cute that is? Okay. So every month, I'm going to get a kit that has a background piece and the wool that I'm going to need for that block. And of course, I bought the pattern. You have to buy the pattern. I mean, you need the pattern. So the pattern comes with the first shipment along with the first kit. And oh, by the way, we sell this wool thread kit to match. Yes, please. So I got that coming. And, you know, I don't want to do it by myself because why should I have all the fun? So I invite my friend via a text message with a picture. She's in Ohio. Miss her. And I say, hey, you want to do this with me? Because she does applique. She does everything. Like, she's, you know, amazing. And she says, well, it's really cute, but, you know, I don't really like working with the wool. She's worked with the wool and with the wool felt, and she prefers the wool felt. There are things to love about both of those, and I love them all because, you know, I have a lot of kids. I don't show favorites, and I don't show favorites with my projects. But, so she said no. I'm like, okay. Moving on. So then I text my other friend who's in Massachusetts. And I know she likes wool applique, so I already knew that. I said, hey, I signed up for this blog of the month. What do you think? Because a picture, you know, you just have to send a picture. I didn't hear from her for a couple of hours, and that's kind of normal. I mean, that, you know. And then when I did hear back, she said, I'm in, which I thought, yay. So I'm so excited. I can't wait to get started. Now, I signed up for this months ago, like a long time ago. I don't remember. January? It's hard to wait until May. So it starts next month. It's the end of April now, and I can't wait. So, you know, my friend in Ohio, she says, well, you know, I'm not going to sign up for that because it'd be a waste because I don't want to do it in the wool. Okay. Well, you know, so I say, well, do you like this one? She says, oh, I love that one. I knew she would. I was being kind of sneaky. So I said, hey, why don't we do this together? And we'll use wool felt, you know. So she's got, you know, I sent her a whole bunch of she bought a whole bunch of my wool felt before. So she's ready to go. And she's done a lot of really great projects. So, well, so we're going to start it. So pretty excited. So I started off and I said, you know, I always do brights. I do things that are like really bright and colorful. And I said, I'm going to try and do that like antique-y look. I don't want to say primitive because it's not that dark. You know, it's not like blacks and golds and all those kinds of things. But I like this cream. I like the cover, right? Maybe with a tiny little bit more color, but I like the cover. So I start out and I use this background that I think is just perfect. And, you know, and I'm stitching and I'm like, oh my gosh, I just don't like it. How can you do all of that and not like it? And I decided to forgive myself and just move on. Do what you like. It's okay. So I put the block aside and I started over. And I went to my local quilt shop, like 2 miles away, and I found the perfect background fabric. So it's this white crackly kind of fabric. So here's my first block. Pretty. And you know, what kind of friend doesn't buy the perfect background fabric and not get it for her friend as well? So I shipped her off a couple yards and we're both using the same background fabric. And of course, our own interpretation of the colors. And it's going to be so cute. So that one I'm doing on my own, not a block of the month. You know what that means. That baby is probably not going to get done this year. I'm okay with that. I'm totally okay. I'm calling it up my start. It's one of my starts. It's cool. But I do love it and I do want to make it. I was thinking it would look so cute for Christmas, hanging up, because it's a Christmas one, right? Called The Santa, the Tree, the Turkey, and Me. I mean, the name's adorable. So anyway, all that just to say that I hooked my friend in Ohio to do a project with me, and I hooked my other friend in Massachusetts to do a block of the month with me, and they're probably both going to finish before me. That's okay. So, so that's my first block of the month in my retirement. Yay me. So I got that. Well, what else? Oh, and I have my cross stitch that I told you about, right? So I have a couple more things that I signed up to do. I'll tell you about them as I get started, but I will just tell you that I'm doing an English paper piecing thing. It's kind of a block of the month. I don't remember how long it goes for. I think it starts in June, and I think it goes to January. It doesn't matter. So I'm doing that. It's English paper piecing. So you get the kit every month. You get the fabric. So I'm going to experience someone else's fabric choices. You know, that's kind of a fun thing too. It's kind of a little surprise, a little package like, oh, or you say, oh, really? I don't know if I like that fabric, but I'm going to use it. I'm going to try it. So anyway, I'm doing that. And then I also signed up for, what is it called? Oh, it's a quarterly cross stitch. Okay, so quarterly, that's easy, right? You know, it's not every month. And so it's a Lori Holt, she calls them her, gosh, I can't remember her stitch cards. But there's 4 little cross stitch designs in each one of these stitch cards that I will receive quarterly. And I figure, it's that big. I should be able to do it. 1 or 2. It doesn't matter. The thing is, I'm going to get mail. It's going to be mail that I like. It's going to be fun, pretty colors. It's going to be stuff that's whole different than I'm used to. It's all good. So I love it. So those are my two newish things. So through my journey of starting with 100% wool for my die cut kits, I found a company. I've been thinking about doing the 100% wool for a while. And I've experienced things that didn't make me very happy. For example, hand-dyed wool commonly will have a marbly effect. I don't care for that look. I like really saturated, even colors. And my journey ended about a year ago when I found a new company. Well, she's not a new company, new to me. I found the company that I need. And her name of her company is Local Farm Girl. So I'll put a link. Her colors are saturated, beautiful, even. The brights are there. There's a lot of brights. Not overly bright like neon, but bright, not primitive as in blacks and golds and olive greens and, pretty colors. And there's other colors in there that are those golds and greens, so there's something for everyone. But the main thing is that there's something that I like to do my kits in. And so I'm starting a whole new line of die cut ready to stitch. Die cut ready to stitch kits. And so through all that exploring of wool and all my years in industry and the trade shows, you start to see people you like their style or you like their company and their product line or whatever it is they're doing you like. You're drawn to it. And one of those people is Sue Spargo. And she does so much with embroidery, hand embroidery. She's from South Africa. She's now lives in Ohio. She lived other places. But anyway, so she's in Ohio with her storefront as well as, well, pretty soon I guess everybody will get back to going to quilt shows and things like that. So she does her travel teaching, whatever. So the whole thing is, Sue Spargo, yay. I had to buy some stuff on her website because I need to build my supplies. Now, let me just tell you this. Before you get crazy, I buy locally. I do. But guess what? I was a quilt shop owner. You can't carry everything. You carry the thing that makes you you. Even if the you is a very versatile you, whatever it might be, you have a style for a quilt shop, and you know that. You're quilters, so you know what your quilt shop means to you. So I know what my quilt shop carries, and I go there frequently, and I look at her notions wall all the time, so I know what's there. And there isn't any Sue Spargo product because it's unique. It's not unique. It's, well, it is unique. It's specific to hand embroidery. So we don't have a needlework shop here. So sometimes quilt shops carry a little smattering of that. Well, my quilt shop doesn't, and that's okay. Let me grab it. I'll show you what I have. Well, first of all, here's those flossaways. See that? You might like that. Okay, just want to show you. So here is my Sue Spargo purchase. Now, my friend in Southern Connecticut is probably going to be so jealous. Look at all my needles. You know who I'm talking to. So anyway, I bought these because it has everything. Like, let's say I'm going to do one of her Sue Spargo's, she does these classroom things, like a free classroom thing every week. You get a little email. Well, if I want to try it, I need the needle. I need the right size needle. And of course I need all this, the floss and the threads and well, that's a whole nother story. But the fact is, you need your essentials. And these are cool. And look at all the little tubes. So she includes this piece of fabric with the printed names of all the needles and the sizes on them. And you can make a needle book, right? But that's kind of not my style. I don't do a needle book because what happens is I just put the needle down and then I don't know what it is. So anyway, I love these little tubes. So I don't know what I'll do, but the fact is I'm going to have what I need. Yay! That's good. And then, of course, I do a lot of pennies, right? Pennies are circles of wool. They're often stacked. I'll talk about pennies more in another video. But Sue does a lot of hand embroidery with her pennies and so many wonderful creative things. And she created this tool, Spoke Easy. Isn't that cool? Like speakeasy, spoke easy. So anyway, they're made to use on pennies. There's markings for the circle sizes. And then there's all these little lines in the template that you can put your marking tool in, and you can mark your wool, or you can even actually stitch through it because they're like guidelines. And then she has techniques that match the different guidelines. And there's a little chain. I mean, like, seriously, yay. I love it. And you know what? I might not use it this month or next month, but I have it when I'm ready. And that's the kind of stitcher I am. A long time ago when I started working with a company, I had a wonderful man as a boss, a wonderful mentor. And so many things that he said to me are stuck in my brain. And one of them is, we would talk about the industry and we needed to know our customer. And there was this period of time when quilters were in the acquisition phase. And I hear him in my head talking about the acquisition phase, and I'm in the acquisition phase. I'm in retirement. I didn't get all the tools I needed, obviously. So I'm in acquisitions. So I acquired my Spoke Easy for when I need it. Great. Well, that's a little bit about hand stitching. Cross stitch, my applique, projects coming up. In another video, I will tell you all about my new product line with my 100% wool die cut kits, whatever. But I want to give you a little teaser. I want to show you one of my kits that I'm working on, okay? Now, I have most of this series done. And I wanted a well-rounded series, a well-rounded line of product when I introduce die-cut wool to the industry. And so I needed something a little more springy, a little more colorful. Okay, so look at this beauty. Isn't that pretty? So these wools are from Local Farm Girl. So all of my wool kits are going to be packed exclusively with this wool because it is absolutely what I want in a wool. You can visit her online. She's venturing into something new and she's changing the name of her company a little bit. But she's going to continue to dye her wool and expand even more on that. So it's very exciting. So for now, it is still Local Farm Girl. So you go ahead and check that out. So I cut my background piece, and then I also cut another circled up. I did this layering effect, and I like negative space. You know, I like when my applique runs off the edge. I've always liked it that way. And so that's my new kit. It's so pretty. So this is the last one in the series of samples that I need to stitch. And so my friend is continuing on with her hand applique that we're supposed to be doing together. But I have to work. It's fun work. They'll feel bad for me. No, I had a goal, and I had to get these wool kits done. And I really want to release them in May. And I will. I'm there. But I'm stitching like mad is my point of why I'm telling you this. And I don't know about you. My thumb hurts so bad. So all the pulling of the needle, it's not like it's hard to pull, but it's just repetitive. I mean, I stitch for hours at a time. So my thumb hurts so bad. I mean, I go to sleep at night like, ouch, my thumb hurts. And of course the husband is like tired of hearing it. But he just says, yeah, I know, that really hurts. He's so good. So I said to him the other day, he always says, I'm going to the store, do you need anything? I said, you know, I hear they make like these little things that you can put on your finger cots. and they protect your finger and they give you a little grip and that's whatever. Oh yeah, I've seen those, he says. Okay, I'll look for them. He comes home and he doesn't have them. And he says, but I went over to Staples. You know what Staples is, right? Home office supply. So he brings home this thing for my thumb. I can't believe it. Don't let word get out. Because you know what happens? Whenever quilters find something in another industry and they bring it into the quilting world, what happens? The price goes up. Because, oh, it's for quilters. Let's market it this way and package it that way. And that's all well and good. What I'm just saying is, shh, okay? I'll tell you what it is. I'll show you. Reach over. Look at it. Cool? All right. So what it is, there's like gummy, rubbery things. And you put it on your finger, whichever finger happens to be my thumb, and you put it on there, okay, easily. I mean, it's not that hard to do, right? Oh, it's so cool. And it grips the needle. Oh my goodness, it's so great. And it protects the little splits and cuts so they don't get any worse. And I just wanted to share that with you. It's definitely a thumbs up. Yeah, I know, I just said that. Whatever. So anyway, cute little box. There's 10 in there, and it was like $10. It's like about $1 each. But you know, you wear them, and they last a pretty good while. They're all soft and rubbery. So, and then when your thumb gets better, you don't need it. So, great. So they're called Count, Sort, and Collate with Ease. And I'm going to add or stitch with ease. Okay? So that's my little find. Well, what shall we talk about next? Funny story, I have to tell you. I went through this video, start to finish, before this, without turning the camera on. It's a true story. I was like, what? I go to turn the camera off, and it still says standby, not record. It was terrible. I laughed a lot. I got a new cup of iced tea. I'm back. So anyway, I kind of forget what I said in the make-believe video and what I say in this video, and it gets kind of confusing. So, but I just want to tell you one thing. Well, lots of things, but for now, I want to start on one more thing. So I told you about my friend. I think I told you. Maybe I did. I told you before when you weren't listening. So I go to my local quilt shop and I look at the notions wall. I look at the notions wall anywhere I go. Because not every store is going to carry every notion. And my friend says, if they sell it, we must need it. She is so right. So a while back, I bought this light, and I'll show it to you. Okay, so let's move the tea out of the way so we don't have any kind of accidents. I'll turn the light off too because it kind of messes with the camera. So this is my light combination. Isn't that cool? I mean, I loved it when I got it. I got it for English paper piecing, actually, when I first started getting into that. Because it has a light and, you know, you can adjust and extend the light like literally over your work, right? Can you see that, I hope? Like I can put my hand right under this light. So awesome. And so I decided, okay, I need to get organized. I got block of the month starting. One of them is applique. One of them is English paper piecing. Another thing is cross stitch. I got to be ready with my stuff. So I got it all dusted off because I kind of had it on the shelf for a while. And I filled it up. What do you have in your notions bin? I have tiger tape. I don't hand quilt. But you know, there are many uses for tiger tape. And one thing that I use it for is if I'm doing a blanket stitch and I want it like exactly even all the way, I'll use a little piece of tiger tape. You know, and there's other reasons. So I have my tiger tape. I have all my Sue Daly English paper piecing needles, Milner's, right? I usually use a straw needle when I do needle turn applique. There's so many needles and you have to have the right needle, right? Of course, little scissor snips. Basting glue. Sometimes, you know, sometimes a pin is just not going to work. I have some marking tools, my friction pens, I got my Soline chalk pencil, tape measure, freight check. When you do 100% wool and you cut that woven product, you sometimes get these little wisps. And you can snip them and you can stitch over them and you're good to go. But I learned in a video that I was watching that if you can't control those wisps, you can do some freight check. Now I haven't had to use it yet. I'm on like my 9th kit, I think, or whatever, but it's good to have because there's this thing. If you need it, I can guarantee you don't have it. So make sure you have everything you need just in case. So that's my just in case. And then, you know, I have some more scissors. I have a variety of needles. I have this adorable little tin my friend gave me, and with my applique pins in there. Great stuff. Oh, and I have a little container of magic, thread magic. I do use it sometimes because, I don't know. Sometimes you get the knots going in the floss. It's got to do with the humidity, I'm sure. And it's just annoying. So anyway, I have it if I need it. Thread magic. And before I move on and talk a little bit about my quilting, I want to show you one more thing for hand stitching. One of the things I wanted to do in my business was do a monthly stitch project and invite my customers to participate. And so I designed this series of 6 projects, and we'll do it over the course of 6 months. And I call it Stitching Joy. And so here is our project. This one is called Pretty Pennies. Excuse me. So Pretty Pennies is the first one in the series of 6. And this one shipped this month. Next month we're going to ship Freedom. So there's lots of really great ones. So go to my website, take a look. You can sign up anytime. So it doesn't matter that I ship this month. You can join in anytime and it'll just start from the time you join, and there you go, right? And so they are little stitch cards that display on this little flip rack called a flip card stand. And this is manufactured by a company called Ackfeld Wire Company. They make a lot of the little wire hangers that we use in quilting and stitching and needlework and that, and really unique design. Little small company does a great job with their products. Love it, love it. So that's where the stand comes from, and you can also buy that on my website. If you don't want to do the project and hang it on a stand, that's okay. If it's just all about the experience of stitching, or you can even just, you know, hang these on a wall somewhere, they're fine. Or in a cubicle, because people have cubicles, you know. Even though we're all, you know, a lot of people are working from home, they're going to eventually go back to the office, so they're going to need some cuteness in their cubicle, or even just their little home office area. Right? This is like a perfect desktop little joy. Okay, so that's Stitching Joy. You can join anytime. Okay, so I want to tell you about my quilting finally. And you can see behind me, just so you know, that's my new design wall. I finally put up a design wall at home. And a design wall for me is, I'm not necessarily designing the quilt blocks, but I want to see what they look like when you stand back and, hey, I want a design wall, so I got one. And I couldn't ruin the wall because the husband is like, you're not doing that to the walls again. So anyway, I used foam core board. I used command strips, the kind you use for hanging pictures, because it can support 2 pounds. That's what it says on the cover. And so I stuck my foam core board to the wall with those. And then there's 4 of them, so there's like a gap. I got my labels, white labels, and I stuck them all to kind of like tape, because I didn't want tape to shadow through. And then I spray glued my batting outside, came in, stuck it, blah, 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 trimmed it. Ta-da! Design wall. Well, I am a quilter. I would say that if I would describe myself, I would say I'm a quilter first, I do wool applique second, and all the other stitching third. And so I am participating in the Color Blocks Quilt Along 2021. My friend Debbie Brown started this quilt along. Each month, after you sign up on her website, which I will include a link, you sign up on her website for the Color Blocks Quilt Along, and each month she provides us with a pattern to use our color blocks in. Okay, so what's a color block? A color block is very simply a 16 patch. I'll show you. Bring this over here. Do you have a sewing place where you can just like swivel your chair and get to whatever you need? I love that. Of course I have to stand up to cut and iron, but it's good to move around. So I do the swivel. Okay, so this is a color block. So this one happens to be one that I chose the colors of gray and neutrals. And I put like a little kicker color square in the same place on all of them. I was inspired by another quilter on the Facebook group for the Color Block Challenge. And oh, there's so many fun quilts out there. You can't make them all. But I got inspired, like, oh, she did it with like other colors and she had this like one fabric. Anyway, I said, oh, I love that. So I just made the color blocks. I didn't know what monthly pattern I would use them in, but I just made a bunch of gray color blocks. And I make anywhere between 20 and 30 blocks because Debbie's patterns will sometimes use 25, sometimes 30. One time, the first quilt I made bigger, so I had to make, I don't know, like 40. I decided to make that quilt bigger. I don't know. Right? And so that's a color block. It's a 16 patch that uses 2.5-inch squares. And the idea is to use your scraps. I don't have a lot of scraps, so I bought a lot of fat quarters to add to the scraps I already had. And I wanted to do the colors that I like. So that's the Color Block Quilt Along 2021. So every month we get a pattern to use our blocks. So you can make these blocks ahead of time. You could just sit and sew mindlessly, like there's no tool you need, special tool, there's no matching points, mindless. I can just sew along and hear the machine humming along and make color blocks. And then I'll have them ready. So I am behind. I was really focused on the business, getting those samples done. So April I fell way behind on, but that's okay. I still have a couple, 2 days. It's not going to be done for April, but that's okay. You know, this is a fun thing. It's supposed to be fun. We don't have to feel pressured. But every month, Debbie's going to provide us with a pattern. Now, the one behind me is for April, and it's called Cheers. I'm using my gray, and then she has an alternating hourglass block. We all see different things in a block. She named the quilt Cheers. I'm starting to see martini glasses. I don't drink martinis, but the glasses are pretty. So I'm thinking that might be why, but who knows really. Other than the fact that it's just very cheerful. So that's my April color block. So I encourage you to visit Debbie Brown's DebbieBrownQuilting.com and visit her and see her color blocks quilt along. Let me tell you about Debbie Brown. I've known her for a lot of years. This lady is an amazing instructor for machine quilting. Long arm quilting for years, long arm quilting. And she expanded into stationary quilting machines. We call them domestic quilting machines. So it's your regular sewing machine. Your sewing machine made for, so not made for quilting. Your sewing machine used for quilting. That's it. And so Debbie is a teacher. She's done so much traveling throughout the world teaching quilting. And with the pandemic and some other health issues, she has had to like sit still, stay home. And of course, the joy of quilting never leaves you when you're an instructor. It just never leaves. And so Debbie has a very, very sound company where she does instructional videos for machine quilting that you can purchase from her. And when you make a purchase, it's a lifetime purchase. So those videos are up there. And she does some really interesting things, like before a video is released, she has like a free viewing week, or, I mean, you just go listen to what Debbie has to say and she'll tell you all this stuff. But in her color block challenge, she not only gives you a free quilting pattern, she gives you a free instruction on how to machine quilt it. Okay? You're not just going to have a stack of tops. By the way, I learned this new thing. I thought I knew everything, right? They call them flimsies. Did you ever hear that? A flimsy is a quilt top that's not quilted yet. I just call them unquilted quilt tops in a stack. I like flimsy better. It sounds fun. So anyway, that's my Cheers April color block. Take a look and see what Debbie has to offer. It's amazing. And once you get a little taste of what she does, you're going to want to purchase her classes. If you're really focused on learning that machine quilting, you can't get a better teacher than Debbie Brown. I'm just telling you the truth. I've been out there. I've seen a lot. With Debbie Brown, it's about you and your quilting. It's not about her and how wonderful she is, and you can never meet her standards. I mean, she's just not like that. No diva. No. She's one of those good people. So check that out. But along those lines, I'll move over a little bit more. You see that one back there with all the orange squares? Well, I saw these quilts on Pinterest that used 16 patches. No, I shouldn't say that. No, that's not right. I thought they used 16 patches, but they were strip piecing method. But, you know, you see something else when you look at a quilt. You know that as a quilter. And I saw these 16 patches, but they had no sashing in between. They had no alternating blocks. And they're called checkerboard quilts. I never heard of them. It's a style of quilting that looks like checkerboard. I'm in. Yes, please. And so I'll use all my squares. So I made my first checkerboard quilt, and that's another reason why I fell behind. I made these color blocks with a pretty pastel color and a polka dot. And I alternated them, just those two fabrics in one 16 patch. So it had a different look to it. It wasn't a scrappy look. It was like a little bit more organized in scrap, right? And so each of the 16 patches used, this is so pretty. And so I decided, you know, I'm making this for my granddaughter when I see her on my trip to New Jersey in the summer. I have 13 grandkids. 5 of them live with me, and the rest of them are in Jersey. So I got to go see them. So I'm bringing quilts. This is what I do. It's what grandmas do. That's what quilters do. So I'm going to bring her a new quilt, and it's going to be that checkerboard quilt. I cannot show up without a quilt for her brother. Lesson. So you got to make 2. So the quilt behind me is going to be for my grandson, her brother. And you know, boys love orange. I don't know what it is about orange. You ask any kid, what's your favorite color? They're going to tell you green or orange. Honestly, it's true. Well, now I like orange. It's fun. It's pretty. There's so many shades of it. Ooh, I love it. So there you go, right? That's my next checkerboard quilt. So that's my little quilting story for now. And I'll show you, I keep all my squares very organized. I have this stack of draws over here, and let's take a look. Oh, look at all those pretty squares. They want to be a quilt someday. They're so pretty. Pink. So they're kind of color coordinated in the draws. I've got the draw with the yellows, the draw with the, right, all the way down. So this lady who's doing the color block, she's in my group. She comes to my occasions. She's participating in the color block challenge. And she's making Christmas squares. You know, so each of her is using Christmas fabrics. I'm like, oh, that's wonderful. And thinking she's just going to make one. No. She told me every quilt for this year, so 12, we're going to have 12 quilts at the end. She's using Christmas fabrics for all of them, and she's gifting them to her family. Wow. I mean, I believe she'll do it too. But I thought, oh, a holiday-themed color block, that'll be pretty, right? So I said, I want to make a Christmas one. I want to be like her. I want to make a Christmas one. Because it's kind of what quilters do. Well, I don't have any Christmas fabric. So it just so happens that my local quilt shop, she has lots of fat quarters. And that's kind of how I build my scrap stash. I went there and I bought lots of fat quarters. And then lots more fat quarters. And then lots more fat quarters. And I cut them all into 2-inch squares. 2.5. I'm sorry, 2-inch finish, 2.5 inch. And so I went back to get some Christmas ones. Who wouldn't? So I'm looking around and they're all pretty and I'm like, oh, you know, but you need 16. I want different ones, you know, whatever. So I got a little handful and I'm with a couple ladies and we're looking around and I see this basket under the cutting table, like barely sticking out. And I pull it out and I'm like, hey, what's these? She goes, oh, they're scrap bags. Oh, we're doing scrap quilts. How convenient. I found an entire bag that was Christmas, right? I paid $8. I got 40 color blocks, not 40 squares, actual blocks for a Christmas quilt, for a Christmas themed quilt. Ah, they're so pretty. The squares are so pretty. I think I made it into a quilt top already. I don't remember. I'm gonna find them for next time, and then I'm gonna show you quilts next time. How's that? Because I don't think there'll be a lot of progress on my cross stitch or my applique. Let's be honest. So next week we'll look at quilts, okay? And I'll show it to you. But it did get me started on that whole theme idea. And when I was at my quilt shop, I saw this really fun Halloween focus print. I call them focus prints when it's just like that print that inspires all the colors in your blocks. It inspires the whole thing. And then it's the best border or alternating square. Yeah, I mean, you know, you're a quilter, right? You get it. So I have my Halloween blocks. I think I made 30. I have them ready. I have my fabric ready, and I'm waiting for the right quilt to come along from my quilt blocks, color blocks, quilt along. I know Debbie will not disappoint me. There's going to be the perfect Halloween setting. I just know it. And then I'll use those squares. So, although I'm behind, I have the squares done. So it's really assembly. I have an all-day Saturday sew on Saturday. I'll probably drag along my sewing machine and get these color blocks done. So do that quilting. And then I'll see where else my quilting journey takes me over the course of time, over this next little while. I do have a quilt on the long arm, and let me tell you what, this quilt has been loaded on the long arm 2 months. I think 2 months. And I'm going to quilt it. I just know it. I just know I'm going to be inspired to quilt it. I just get distracted with so many things. So anyway, I will do that, and then I'll give you some quilts, some quilt show and tell next week. How's that? Listen, I want to invite you to my Facebook group. It's called What's Under Your Needle? Because that's what I want to know. What's under your needle? Is it a knitting needle, an applique needle, a sewing machine needle, a long arm needle? You get where this is going, right? I just want you to have a place to share what you're making, get inspiration from others. So please join me on my Facebook group, What's Under Your Needle? I can't wait till we get to chat again. I'll see you real soon.